Post-game reaction time. The Auburn Tigers take down the Alabama Crimson Tide, number 1 versus number 2, and that is why you are number 2. We're going to talk about it, the score, the stats, and the storylines. All that coming up right now. War Eagle, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of E2C Network Live here, where we discuss the Auburn experience. That Auburn experience is all about Auburn sports, Auburn culture, Auburn family stuff. Basically, if it's orange and blue, it's what we do. So thank you so much for joining us in what we're going to do in this particular post-game stream. Ladies and gentlemen, the matchup of the ages for the very first time in the SEC, number 1 versus number 2, the Auburn Tigers versus the Alabama Crimson Tide. Boy, the lead up to this was amazing. Boy, the lead up to this was tense. The game itself, back and forth, although Auburn, I don't think ever, maybe 1 second didn't have the lead. Funny about that, 1 second. Anyway, the Tigers are victorious. Let me give you the rundown of what you need to know to start off before we get into all the different things. 94-85, the Tigers are victorious. The big stat that I have for you to start off this evening is 19%, which was the 3-point percentage for Alabama, a huge factor in the outcome of this game. And then the big stat that I have for you, Bruce Pearl becomes the first coach, the big storyline. Bruce Pearl becomes the first ever coach to coach a 1 versus 2 matchup and win it for 2 different teams. Certainly it's been done before in a 1-2 matchup, but for the same team. That's just a cool storyline. And I guess an extra stat on top of that to round out our score, our stat, and our storyline to get things started. You guys can join in on the conversation. For those of you that are watching live, we also appreciate those that catch the replay, listen to the audio replay as well. We appreciate you all being here. Help us get started off on a good note with the stream. Smash that like button as you're coming in, as you can help us find other people, lets other people know that we're live, joining in on the conversation, all that good stuff. And we already got a great crowd assembling here. So do that for us right now. How we typically go throughout each of these streams is we go through, obviously, the score, which we've already talked a little bit about. We're going to talk about individual stats, team stats, and amongst all of that, we're going to talk about storylines, things that you all want to discuss. We're going to do our best to take some of the commentary from you all in the chat that are watching live. So don't be shy, join in, and we will certainly dive into a bunch of different things. I'm going to work real hard to keep us within our, what we try to keep about 30-minute time frame. No promises, though, because there may be 1,000 different angles that I want to talk about this evening. So, man, I am still coming down from the high of all this. It was intense. It was rough. This was a very physical game. This was a juggernaut matchup. And respect to Alabama. They are a great basketball team. And we saw that today in their place. We're just better. You can't deny the facts of that right now. So that's just how that shakes out. Sorry for all you Bama trolls that wanted to show up here in the chat and yell Yale 1,000 times. You got to get some better material. Anyway, all that's still a fair game if y'all want to have some fun with that. I was trying to think of a fun pun to go with Yale about it, and it just didn't work out. Anyway, lots of fine folks already checking in with us to say hello and be a part of the stream. Won't be able to shout out every single person here, but appreciate you all for popping in and hanging out with this. Kevin says it best, bragging rights. The best rights are the bragging rights because there's no arguing it. There's been a lot of talk about we're going to do this to you. We're going to do that to you. You're really not the true number 1. Once again, Auburn being down with some foul trouble, players coming in injured, getting further injured, removing themselves from the game. They still found a way as a team to get the win tonight, which is incredible. It's again, Auburn rises to the occasion this year. The test, they continue to be asked to face each test, and they have passed most of those, the majority of those, with flying colors. So what I'd love for you to know from you all this evening, let's get started with this. Who is your player of the game? Boy, do you have some choices in this one. POTG in the chat with their last name, or just their name in general. I just need to keep it simple. I'd love to get a view of the chat, what you all think in terms of player of the game. Let me just go ahead and give you a preview of what we're about to talk about. 6 players in double digits tonight. 6 players. You heard me right. I was sitting on the couch with my wife, and I looked at her and I said, "We've already got 4 players in double digits, or we had 3 at the time when the 4th one was about to happen." I said, "I see 2 others that have a strong possibility of getting there, and this is going to make it really tough in terms of what this could come down to in terms of player of the game, because they're all playing very well, at least scoring wise." So anyway, a lot of you are starting to do that. We've got a couple of votes for Denver. I don't know what that one is, but am I missing TP player of the game? Todd Pettiford. There we go. See, that's why you got to write their name out and make it easier for me. Denver Jones. Apparently, Katie Johnson's getting a vote from Robbie somehow. I don't know. All of those different things are out there. I guess if you want to credit to anybody, maybe Katie still was in their minds. All right, let's walk through that with because I don't have a idea right now who I want to go with as my player of the game. It's always easy to go to the highest scorer and say that one, and you're not wrong a lot of the time. Let me just preface that by saying that you're not wrong if you say the highest score is the player of the game most of the time. But sometimes we do need to give a little bit of extra recognition to those of them that do other things. I think there are some players that won't even be discussed tonight in terms of other contributions they have that could have been player of the game types of moments. We're not going to be tolerating that JRC in here, my guy. So no, even if you're not even writing the word out, we're going to be classier than Alabama fans. So that is not reflective of an Auburn person. He made a reference toward Holloway in a way that is not appropriate. So sorry about that, my guy. But I'm not sorry, but we're not tolerating that on the stream. All right, here is your individual players, your leading scorer tonight, double getter. I think someone in the chat posted is 15th double or something like that. Please clarify me if I'm wrong. 19 points for Janai Broome, 14 rebounds, 6 assists, and 3 personal fouls, 2 turnovers in 33 minutes of play. And I looked a little bit further in his stats. He had 2 blocks and 1 steal. Once again, proving that he is worthy of his candidacy for National Player of the Year and should be the front runner. He does this also while coming in hurt, but got hurt again during the middle of the game and still gritted that out. I know, folks, somebody I think wrote it just in general about free throws at the end of the game, and certainly he was not spectacular from the free throw line at the end of the game. I think we give him a little bit of a pass given what he had done for the team at that point. So, he also was a little bit more injured in that. So I think Janai is probably your easiest one to go with 19 points. Your next leading scorer is Denver Jones. I want to look at all of you in the camera right now that continue to try to push this narrative that somehow Todd Pettiford needs to start over Denver Jones. I think you continue to be proven how ridiculous you are. And that is no shade thrown at Todd. Todd is thriving in the role that he is currently playing in, evidence from stats and what he's able to do coming off the bench. But y'all need to put some respect on Denver Jones's name. That's 2 games in a row now, and he's done more than that previously to that, where he is worthy of being that starting, essentially, point guard for us. 16 points, 5 for 9 from the field, 100% on his free throws, 1 rebound, 3 personal fouls, as 1,000 personal fouls were given out in this game. Denver Jones is with his 16 points is also a good candidate for that. I was leaning Denver a little bit. I might have to go back to Janai on this one, but we'll keep going. A couple more votes are coming in for Broome as well from a lot of people. Unbeaten Lake says, I think Broome just won it most likely the most watched game in the nation. Top 2 teams. I know Alabama isn't known for their defense, but everything Broome did, even getting hurt, he might have won it on his own. So there's some more celebration for Brittany, for Denver Jones, another Denver Jones. So I think we all recognize we may not be in the position that we're in if he doesn't come out firing on all cylinders from the 3-point arc. I mean, truthfully, 3 in a row. Well, maybe it wasn't a row, but 3 right off the bat from him, 3 threes, really got things going in the second half to put Auburn in the driver's seat. So if you want to think about it from that sense, he's got a really strong case to be player of the game. Your next leading scorer was Miles Kelly with 15. Once again, he continues to kind of do that quietly in the background. Like he'll have his great 3-pointer to start off each half, it feels like, and gets another one here or there. He only has, let's see, Miles has 2 tonight, 2 of 6 from the 3-point arc, with 8 rebounds. So Miles, who got a double-double a couple games ago, nearly does it again in this game. So props to him. Can we also give some props? And this may have been your player of the game had he continued at the rate he was toward the end of the second half and spattered throughout the game. Chaney Johnson, 14 points, makes all his free throws, makes 2 for 4 from the 3-point arc, 5 for 10 from the field, 5 rebounds, 3 personal fouls, 1 assist. Chaney Johnson was doing it all in this game, and thus he is also a good candidate for a player of the game. That's just, 4 of them in double digits? Let's keep going. Tahad Pettiford. I'm sorry, I missed somebody back at 15, way down at the bottom because he's been out of the game for a little bit. Chad Baker-Mazar. I'm sure lots of you want to discuss that. We will. Please always keep in mind, you should handle those type of situations and those discussions a little bit more productively. 15 points for him. He makes all his free throws, 5 rebounds for him. He does foul out with that flagrant at the end of the game. We will talk about it. But credit to him as well for a great game. Tahad Pettiford is your 6th player, if I'm not missing someone now. Yes, in double digits, 13 points. Doesn't have a great night shooting from the 3-point arc, but he's 5 for 10 on the day with a rebound and only 1 personal foul on the day. So, folks, 6 players in double digits. This is incredible. This is absolutely incredible. Corey, one of our regulars, wants me and Austin, my co-host of the Auburn Experience podcast, to reassess our win-loss projections for SEC play. I think I probably will do that after this game. Auburn has faced so many tests now, it may be time to reassess what we're predicting. If you want to know what those predictions were, you'll have to come to the Auburn Experience podcast on Sunday nights on YouTube to make sure that you take part in that and see what we potentially say. So remind us, Corey, on the show, and we'll give you an updated one on that one. Let's continue. The only other points scored today. So everybody scores in double-digit points that scored points aside from Dylan, who does foul out as well. Some very rough calls called on Dylan. Of course, there were a few that he did commit. He's 1 for 1 on the day with 2 points, but we can't miss out on giving him opportunity. Chris Moore, he doesn't light up the stat sheet at all. Saw a couple of you, wanting to continue to somehow feel like it's a good thing to dog Chris Moore because, whatever. But he continues to show why he is a valuable member of this team, getting some key blocks defensively and just contributing out there in ways that others aren't sometimes. So Chris Moore doesn't score tonight, but I wanted to give him that shout out. Jakai and Jaheim also get into the game. Okay. So that's some individual stats right here. Is there a moment? Is there a play by a particular player that you want to call out, that you want to discuss a little bit more? We're going to move into team stats here in just a little bit here, but I do want to make sure that we're not missing out on any discussions individually that we, that we haven't had an opportunity to yet or expound upon. This is from War Eagle Prods. What about Broom's injury? I'm live here with you guys, so I'm not able to be on the post-game press conference. Maybe some people like dual listen to our show and do that sometimes. So maybe they can tell us if coach is giving an update. My guess is you're never going to hear an update on those, a real update, until the following press conference before the next game. So that is really what you should wait on. But if he's just maybe want us to discuss that, the fact that Janai gets hurt and Alabama still wasn't able, Alabama had the perfect opportunity to just take that away from Auburn. You lose the best player again, people would start to think, and you would normally think, hey, that's our window right there. But everybody else steps up. So it's a credit to Janai for fighting through it and continuing to score buckets, and the rest of the team to show up and show out as well. Let's see here. Mazzara's late 3 in the game when it was tied. Certainly that's a good moment right there. A little love for Semo with the block near the end of the game changed, and it did change that feeling. When Chris Moore comes flying in and blocks you, that certainly is like, oh, wow, they are just all flying on all cylinders there. Okay. Let's see. What else do we miss here individually? I'm just trying to look through some of the comments here to make sure we're not missing out on anything. We're not going to get to every single thing today. Let's discuss the fouls a little bit, okay? I do want to address that a little bit. And certainly, folks, I am going to continue to ask us as the Auburn family to continue to be the best example of this, to not focus so much on the refs. I think it's fair to say that the fouls were skewed in Alabama's favor most of the game. Now, they finished with 22, we finished with 24, but they were fouling every, several seconds there, the last 2 minutes of the game. So you probably really take off about 5 of those at least. It was certainly looked like a little bit of home cooking and things like that. There was a lot of flopping. There was a lot of that stuff. That certainly was all going on. But what do I tell you every single time? Doesn't matter. You should not be in a position for those things to affect the game. Let's talk about the CBM things. For those of you maybe that are listening that didn't get to see the actual play with CBM at the end, it was his 5th foul, but then they still upgraded it to a flagrant foul. He was being shoved out of bounds. Let's not mince words about this. So I guess we're just okay with that. You can just push a player out of bounds, losing their balance. And so as he's losing his balance, you can see what it clearly looks like to be, in my opinion, CBM kind of throws a little bit of a, swipe at him as he's falling backwards. And then the Alabama player instantly throws up his arms, as he was clearly thought to do, to try to get that look at CBM. CBM shouldn't have done it. But also, I guess we're just okay with blatantly pushing people out of bounds. So if you see any Alabama fans talking about that this week, point that out to them as well. We'll see if they're consistent and reasonable fans or not. Anyway, don't want to focus on the refs. That's not what's important here, but I did want to at least address that. Let's see here. What else we got going on in the chat here? Some more. I got everybody stirred up about the foul talk now. So that if there's an individual play or things that we want to discuss about the individuals, certainly bring that back up and we'll do that. Let's talk about team stats now. This is where it's going to get a little interesting, because I was asked on live streams we do here. I was asked on TikTok live streams. I was asked just on social media, what are your keys to the game? And I told you all that this is really a consistent thing for me, but especially so with the magnitude of this game in Coleman Coliseum 1 versus 2. Auburn needed to shoot better free throws than them. Auburn needed to win the rebound battle, and Auburn really needed to win the turnover battle. This is the big 3 that I'll always focus on. So those of you that have been here before, you're not going to be shocked that Kyle's about to emphasize those big 3 things there. So y'all can roll your eyes at me all you want, but we're going to talk about them. And interestingly enough, Auburn really doesn't do too well at the end of the game with a lot of those categories. So let's talk about them. Free throws, certainly Janai missed several at the game that really hurt us, but for the longest time, we were 100% for the day and held up close to that 80% mark. We finished with 69%. They get 74. So not a great day for Auburn overall at the end, but some context needs to be discussed within that. Turnovers. I just want to give a hats off or a tip of the cap to Auburn and Alabama. 4 and 7. Auburn wins this one, but the ball was not turned over a ton. Someone said earlier that you can tell that these two are worthy of being considered for the number 1, but there can only be one. Because of the quality of some of their areas of play. That's a great example of it right there. With the energy, the magnitude of this game, to only turn it over 4 times for Auburn, only turn it over 7 times for Alabama, that's impressive. So that's a congrats to both of them in terms of the quality of play that we saw in this game. Auburn loses the rebound battle, 40-49. And it was starting to get a little bit worse than that. But that to me is what kept Alabama in the game in the first half, to be honest with you, because their 3-point percentage, which we're going to talk about in just a second, was just horrendous. So that was the key of the game to me for Auburn. So they only win one of those categories, but they're at least within earshot in the others. Here's the real thing. And that people ask, what's Alabama's key to winning the game? It's their 3-point shooting. And when they were not knocking those things down to start the game, I said, we got a shot. We got a shot here in Coleman Coliseum. 19% of 3-point shots go in for Alabama, only 5 in the game, compared to Auburn's 40. To me, that is the stat that tells the story of this game completely. I always emphasize those turnovers, those rebounds, the free throws, and sometimes those do tell the tape. That differential right there is the difference in this game, in my opinion. 40-19, we do what they are supposed to be known for. That's incredible. And a big tip of the cap, as I'm giving lots of those to Auburn for showing up in that area in this game. Okay. We got a couple other things here. Let me see what you guys are saying in the chat. Hughes here celebrating. He says, yes, we are number one. WT with the sarcasm. My key to the game is usually having more points than the other. As always, it's the most overused joke in the entirety of all of this. Unbeaten Lake asks a good question. Is this the highest ranked win of all time for Auburn? Well, I guess if you want to talk about the ranking of both the teams, maybe. But we've beaten number one teams before, so I guess no. I don't know how you. I'm a little bit confused by that question, but maybe you've got something that you're thinking about there that you can explain. Tommy says, I'm not sure what's better, the win or watching the faces of the Bammers fans when we won. Yeah, it was a little rough day for them. Can I just give a shout out to the Auburn family that showed up and showed out in Coleman Coliseum? First of all, I know it's terrible to have to go to that town, much less that facility, because I won't even dignify it with a basketball arena name. But the chanting of "It's great to be an Auburn Tiger" in their home is always a great thing to hear, which is also what Tommy is putting here. So that's great. So that was just a shout out I wanted to give there. Okay, a couple more team stats. And again, if there's something on the stats for teams that you'd like to point out, please do. But I'm going to run through a couple other things here. Auburn ends up shooting 46% on the day, Alabama 39%. So it wasn't a horrible day for them overall shooting percentage. It just wasn't what they needed, especially from the 3-point percentage. Looking at rebounds, as we discussed, they out-rebounded us in all areas, doubled us up, and offensive rebounds, that really helped them stay within earshot of Auburn. Second chance points, Alabama wins by 1. Auburn's bench points is 42. Alabama's is 32. Kind of like we talked about, when you have 6 players in double digits, that means one of them is at least coming off the bench with a double-digit points. So there's that. Points in the paint, Alabama dominates, I would say, 26-40. So that really helped them out, and that helped to get their percentage shooting up as well. Blocks, 6 for Auburn, 3 for Alabama. Lots of big-time blocks in this game. 3 steals for Auburn, and Auburn shared the ball a little bit better than Alabama, 13-8. Times tied, 2. Times the minutes tied was 1. There were no lead changes. I was mistaken when I said that. I thought Alabama got into a lead for a second, but there was something wrong on the scoreboard I was watching on the side on the computer, which made me think about that. So Auburn leads the whole way. Auburn maintains that lead. They tie it back up, but from goalpost to goalpost, field goal to field goal, basket to basket, to get it more fine on basketball, Auburn leads the way, technically. So I think we have got apparently a confirmation. Is that what it says, that my co-host was there in person? I'm also going to be very upset with him that he got to go yet again to all of that, which is hilarious. All right, let's talk about this. I know some of you want me to. Unbeaten Lake brings it up. We held Holloway and Sears to a combined 3 and 15 and 3-pointers. Certainly there's a lot of connective tissue with Auburn and Alabama, just in general, but with some players there. You know, people will forget that Grant Nelson at one point was really considering coming to Auburn. Same thing with Omuri, however you say his last name. And I think, frankly, both of them did not come to Auburn because Janai Broome was still going to be there. But then you've got some other things like Holloway, right? Holloway plays okay. He gets double digits, 10 points. He did not play amazing, but he did not play bad. But it was so sweet to see him airball that with like 2 minutes left in the game. It was very poetic. I think we all enjoyed that a little bit more than we should have. but certainly you leave us, we're going to be a little bit butthurt about it and want to see you struggle in some ways. I'm not going to wish ill will on anybody, but certainly not going to lose any sleep over you watching you struggle a little bit. So I'm not going to sit here and dog the kid like I'm sure some of you may want me to. But I do think it's nice to see him not do so well or well enough versus his old team. So Auburn is 1-0 against Aiden Holloway. Couple other things, maybe just trying to look through some team stats. The scores at each of the halves, 42-33, Auburn led, and then it was tied in the second half, 52-52. Speaks to how close this game truly was. And I think, look, if you're a casual basketball fan and you look at the score 94-85, it's only a 9-point victory. You look at that and you say, well, yeah, it was probably close, but look, Auburn got a 9-point win. This was a dogfight. This was a battle. This was rough. This was frustrating at sometimes, but boy, once again, Auburn's involved in a game that could be categorized as a March Madness, Elite Eight, Final Four type of matchup. They come out on top again, so that's really awesome there. Okay, a couple other comments are starting to come in, and let me take some of those on the back end here. Let me, because we do want to talk about what's next for Auburn a little bit and round out our thoughts on the show. And so we'll do that, but quick reminders, as we always like to do here on our post-game shows for you all, about what you can expect the rest of this week here at the Auburn Experience E2C Network. Tomorrow night, if you're listening to this live or shortly thereafter, the Auburn Experience is our main podcast, episode 114, 9 o'clock on Sunday nights. Join us for that. We would love to have you there watching the show be done live, recorded live, and you can hang out with us a little bit afterwards as we're in a Q&A style thing. Big matchup with Calipari coming with the Arkansas Razorbacks. Do not sleep on the Razorbacks back in Neville Arena once again. So those are going to be your main two, and that'll be obviously on Wednesdays because there is no because the game is during our normal Auburn Family Night. We won't have Auburn Family Night this week. So just keep in mind for that. And as some final reminders here, I will be on vacation, not this week, but the next. So we'll have limited content that week, but don't fret. We'll have still some stuff coming out for you. Final reminders. Make sure you check out the links for ways to get involved, connect, and support us. One of the ways you can do that is shopping at Alumni Hall. Using our affiliate link there. If you go and buy something, you support them and support us vicariously. And you support yourself with some new Auburn gear that they have there daily. Okay, let's talk about it. What else we got to discuss here to round out our discussion? A little bit of forward thinking as well. Michael points this out. We still have 4 ranked teams left on the regular schedule. Ole Miss, number 19, number 15, Kentucky. And this is currently as we're talking with what they're ranked right now. Texas A&M 8, and then Alabama again, number 2. It's going to be extra juicy for that final game of the season in Neville Arena. Rusty says there are certain boxes you want to check as the season moves forward, and that was a great check mark considering Alabama was a very good team and number 2 for a reason. Well, they're number 2 because they smell, but okay, sorry, I had to get that one in. That was a bad joke, but it was there. Great point, Rusty. Certainly those are, when you talk about checking boxes, there are things that you want to see out of a program to know that they are as legit as they seem to be. And even with all the injuries, all the other stuff surrounding this, the hype, the reasons to fall apart after the way they got dismantled by Florida at home, Auburn goes to Coleman Coliseum and beats the number 2 out of number 2, 94-84. And it could have been worse for them too. We got an early prediction from WT. Auburn, Alabama, UF as 1 seeds, Tennessee, Texas A&M as 2 seeds. Very interesting. It is getting very interesting. Look, we're getting close to that time where the brackets is going to start ramping up here, and maybe we can discuss that a little bit, but I think we all kind of know where we're positioning ourselves, and it's nice right now. Neil, next time you do need to miss another game so we continue to get big wins like that. Yes, WT, somebody had to say it as well. All right, next up, as I said, Coach Calipari, and now with the Arkansas Razorbacks comes to town. They have taken down giants. Arkansas has always been a good basketball pedigree, and when you have a coach like Calipari, they're going to get the talent and thus be very, very dangerous. Do not sleep on that, but Auburn does check off the box right here, right now, which is a great thing to say. Everybody calm down. You've got an extra day of rest. No game Tuesday. Wednesday, this one happens, and we're going to be doing a post-game stream for that as well. So I'm super excited for that. But final questions, comments, topics. Got like just a few seconds left here on the show. I promised I was going to get y'all out of here in a relatively normal amount of time, and it looks like we've done that. Some predictions already rolling through for how bad we're going to beat Arkansas. Ooh, I hope y'all are right. But listen, rounding this out tonight, we talked about the score, 94-85. Auburn wins this. You talked about the big stat in this game for me. When we started off the show, it was that 3-point percentage, 19 compared to the 40 for Auburn for the 3-point percentage. That's a big stat and a factor in this game. We talked about the big storyline that I mentioned to start off. Bruce Pearl becomes the first ever coach to win a 1-versus-2 matchup with 2 different teams. If you didn't think he was a legend, I don't know what you're watching, because he just continues to prove it out there. And yes, as Neil quite points out, quite in a very fun manner, it is funny to watch the meltdown that is happening from the Alabama fans right now. And if you noticed, not very toxic in the chat this evening. Not toxic whatsoever. And I'll give a shout out to my friend Micah. Where are you, Micah? If he listens to the replay of this right now. All right. I think we covered everything. I think we got it all sorted out. Reaction show in the books. Auburn, Alabama, the big game, 1-versus-2 goes Auburn's favor. We passed the test yet again. And boy, oh boy, was it fun to watch and talk about with you here on our post-game shows. Thank you for hanging out with us and being part of our little family within the Auburn family. Until I talk to you again, War Eagle.